Hello, I am hashtag the tallest man in real estate. And today is September 1st, 2021, and I'm doing my San Francisco housing report. The main topic today is every realtor in San Francisco gets asked, why are San Francisco home prices so expensive? You got XYZ problems. Why is that? Well, I'm going to explain why here. So the first slide I want to show is obviously I'm hashtag tallest man in real estate. There's my cell phone, my email, blah, blah. Um, so the first one is let's look at home appreciation. And what is very interesting about this is that you can see, we're going through the 90s recession, then all of a sudden the dot-com boom hits, and we get this massive appreciation until 2007, 2008. This is when I was in the loan industry and we were doing those no income, no asset loans and just basically approving anybody. And then obviously the market crashes. And then in San Francisco, they started doing a big shift towards having tech companies move into San Francisco. And that was our former mayor, Ed Lee, did a lot of that. And so all of a sudden you had this huge spike that started to happen in appreciation. And it's pretty crazy that from, roughly 2015 or so to here, you get about 60, 70, 80% appreciation depending on the neighborhoods. And that's just a crazy amount of appreciation, which I'm guessing is, got to be one of the tops in the city over the last, or anywhere in the country, should I say, the last 4 or 5 years. The other thing I thought was very interesting, though, was condo appreciation. And so you see after the recession that we have this big spike as everybody moves in, gets their starter homes. And then all of a sudden here over about, the last 4 or 5 years, we pretty much plateau. We only go up 100,000, which is basically 10%. And I thought that was very interesting that, in 5 years, condos have only gone up, roughly 10 or 15%. Obviously, it depends on the neighborhood. And when you think about that, one of the reasons why in San Francisco, they're never going to build another home or another district with a lot of homes. The only thing that they're going to build is condos. When you create 800,000 new jobs since the Great Recession, but you only build 25,000, 30,000 units, all of a sudden, obviously prices are going to spike because they haven't built enough to keep up with demand. And none of those 30,000 were homes, probably a few hundred here and there. And now the reason why that is, though, is one of the biggest things that's going to factor the home demand is going to be your interest rates. And something that a lot of people don't know is that every time your interest rate goes down 1%, you can then afford 10% more home or a condo and keep the same interest rate payment per month. So let me say that one more time. So let's say you have a 4% interest rate on $1 million home and your interest rate goes down to 3%. Now that to keep the same monthly payment, now you can afford 1.1 million. So that is a big factor of what's been happening the last 2 to 3 years. As you can see on the 30-year fixed, November 2018, we're almost at 5%. Now we're hovering, roughly about 3%. So that means that you can afford 20% more home in those 2 years there. Another factor too, especially in the Bay Area, and this is around the country, but even more so in the Bay Area, when you have companies that are IPOing all the time out in San Francisco, as well as other parts around the city, is look at what's happened in the stock market. As they've printed more money, obviously stocks go up, housing prices go up, inflation happens. And I thought this was interesting too. In 2018, you're looking at, roughly 2,750, 3,000 or so. And then it's gone up to 4,250. That's a big increase in your portfolio. If you feel richer on paper, you're more likely to spend more money. You feel more secure about where you are financially in the next, years to come, as well as then you can cash some of that out and then use that as part of your down payment. And then obviously when, interest rates are down, stock market's up, luxury home sales go up in San Francisco, especially once the pandemic hit. And this is the old adage of, the big income gap that we're experiencing all around the country that we're seeing is the rich are getting richer. And you can definitely see this in terms of home sale prices. just skyrocketing as they're starting to get in that $3 to $5 million range. And again, when you think about a lot of those people are the ones that have the white collar jobs, they've gone IPO'd, they have a lot of stock options. And so they're in that gap where they can then really expand their wealth even more so than it was. And then this is something that really, I think, happens mostly in San Francisco, but it is funny that I'm in other Facebook groups and they're talking, something I've noticed them in the last year. It's like, oh gosh, I can't believe this home went, 10 or 20,000 above asking. Which in San Francisco, as you can see, I tell all my buyers, I'm like, if you want to get a house, you got to expect to pay roughly about 15 to 20% over the asking price. Condos, a little bit less. It's pretty much been 5%, depending on that. And what's interesting about this too is there's obviously a reflection here depending on what months you're in. As you're starting to hit the slower parts of the season, not as much overbidding. As buyers get out there, obviously you have more overbuilding, and you always see that usually in the fall, or I'm sorry, the spring market is when the most overbidding happens. You have the most pent up demand. So once again, I hope this does help you to understand why San Francisco prices are so high. I am hashtag tallest man in real estate. You can follow me on Twitter. You can find me on my Instagram, or you can go to my website, which is super easy, tallestmaninrealestate.com. But if you just, search on any of those for hashtag tallest man in real estate, you'll find me everywhere. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing great and have a great September and stay safe out there. Bye-bye.